bass. "Kill her!" ordered the Alpha. His beast bowed instead. The forest was thick with mist, silvered by the moonlight that broke through the dense canopy. Every branch seemed to twist like the fingers of some restless spirit, and every shadow carried a secret. Psh! Kale moved silently, his boots barely brushing the forest floor. His eyes, sharp and golden, scanned the darkness. Somewhere in this cursed kingdom, a presence stirred. A presence he was ordered to end. "Kill her!" the Alpha had commanded. The words still echoed in Kale's mind, cold and absolute. No hesitation was allowed. No mercy. Obedience was everything. Beside, Kale's beast, a shadow of strength and feral instinct coiled within him, stirred with anticipation. And yet, something inside him hesitated. He paused near a clearing where the moonlight struck the dewy ground. There she was, Elara. She was standing near a ruined stone fountain, her cloak dark against the pale grass. Her hair, black as midnight, fell around her shoulders like a waterfall. She wasn't afraid. Not of him. Not of the legends he carried like chains. Instead, she looked toward the night sky, as if the stars themselves whispered secrets only she could hear. Kale's beast growled softly in his chest, an involuntary warning, and yet it was not a warning against her. It was confusion, a strange tug he could not name. The Alpha had demanded her death. His own instincts had never betrayed him before, not like this.
He stepped forward, boots crunching softly. Elara turned her head slowly.
Their eyes met, hers sharp and fearless, and his conflicted and stormy. "You're not afraid," Kale said, voice low, resonant with power. "I should be," she replied, her tone even. "And yet, I feel something different." Kale's fingers itched towards the dagger at his side. The beast within him coiled tighter. Every instinct screamed that she was dangerous. She was cursed, and her blood carried the weight of magic old and cruel. And yet, he could not strike. Elara's gaze softened. There was understanding there, but also challenge. "Why do you hesitate?" she asked. "You are the Alpha's strongest. You obey without question. Yet you hesitate now. Why?" He could not answer with words that would make sense, not even to himself. Instead, he let his eyes speak, but she only read the truth he feared to name. He could not bring himself to kill her. A sudden rustle from the underbrush made them both turn. Shadows shifted unnaturally. Kale's hand went instinctively to his dagger, but he did not move toward her. Instead, he positioned himself between her and the noise. From the shadows, a creature emerged, twisted and unnatural, a remnant of the curse that plagued the kingdom. Its eyes glowed red, and its claws scraped the earth with lethal intent. Elara's expression remained calm.
"It seems the forest does not like visitors," she said, almost in amusement, yet her tone carried an edge of warning.
Kale stepped forward, and in a blur of motion his body shifted, the beast form rising from within him. His limbs elongated, muscles coiling with unnatural strength, his eyes glowing with feral intensity. The creature hissed and lunged. Kale met it head-on, claws tearing through shadows and flesh, yet careful not to strike too far. Not at her. In the chaos, Elara moved as well, her hands tracing symbols in the air that glimmered with pale light. Magic, raw and dangerous, surged from her fingertips, striking the creature and sending it shrieking into the darkness. When the last echo of the creature faded, silence returned. Kale's beast settled reluctantly within him, leaving his body tense but human once more.
He stared at Alara, astonished and unsettled. "You have power," he said, finally finding words.
Power I did not expect. I have always had it, she replied. It is why they sent you. Why the Alpha commands my death. Kale's heart, buried beneath centuries of obedience and ferocity, clenched. He had obeyed without question all his life, yet now he felt a pull he did not understand. The Alpha's command felt distant, meaningless against the weight of something older, something stronger between them. Alara stepped closer, her eyes searching his. Why do you linger? Why do you not strike? Is it fear or something else? Kael's hand tightened on his dagger, then relaxed. It is something else, he admitted, almost to himself. I do not know its name. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. Best. Moonlight shivered across Elara's face, illuminating not fear, but resolve. And in that moment, Kael realized that the hunt was no longer his choice alone. Something had shifted. Something unpredictable had taken root. He moved closer, not as a hunter, but as a protector. A new instinct whispered she was not just a target. She was a key, a challenge, a force that could undo him or redeem him. He could not yet know which. Elara's gaze softened slightly, but she did not step back. Breath. Then we are both in danger, she said. And yet, somehow, I trust you. Kael's heart, long hardened by command and battle, trembled at the weight of her words. Trust was dangerous. Trust could be a weapon, or it could be salvation. He did not know which path lay ahead. Suddenly, a distant horn sounded. The call of the Alpha's guards, searching for them both. Time had run out. Kael's mind raced. Obey the Alpha, or follow the pull he could not deny? The forest seemed to whisper secrets in the wind, secrets only he and Alara could hear. The beast within him shifted restlessly, sensing the danger. And yet, it did not demand obedience. Kael made his choice. He stepped forward, placing himself between Alara and the path back to the Alpha's command. We leave together, he said, his voice low and resolute. And if the Alpha wants me to kill you, he will have to face me first. Alara blinked, a mixture of surprise and hope in her eyes. But I did not expect that.
Neither did I, Kael admitted.
Some bonds are older than fear. The forest seemed to exhale as they moved together into the shadows, leaving behind the clearing and the rules that had bound them. Danger awaited at every step, and yet, for the first time in centuries, Kael felt alive. A new chapter had begun, one of uncertain paths, perilous choices, and a strange, undeniable connection. Breath. And somewhere in the distance the Alpha's order lingered, heavy and unyielding. But Kael's beast, once obedient, had bowed to something else. Something far older, far more potent than duty. The forest had grown darker, thicker, as though it itself wanted to trap them. Mist curled around twisted roots, hiding shadows that seemed to breathe. Kael led the way, every sense alert. Elara followed, her footsteps silent, her eyes scanning the shadows with quiet awareness. They moved in silence at first, the kind of silence that carries the weight of unspoken words. Kale's beast whispered beneath his skin, coiled like a living thing, restless. He had kept his instincts at bay, but every glance at Alara sent a jolt through him he could not name. It was not fear, not desire exactly, but something in between. Recognition, maybe, of a force as old as the kingdom itself. "You should not have survived the clearing," Kale said finally, his voice low, almost a growl. "Most who encounter the forest spirits do not walk away." Alara shrugged, her dark hair brushing her shoulders. "I have lived because I had to. Because some things in me fight harder than fear." She touched the glowing mark on her wrist briefly, as if acknowledging the curse that tied her to the past, to something far older than the Alpha himself. Burse. That mark was the key to everything, the prophecy, the curse, the reason the Alpha wanted her dead. And yet he had already defied the Alpha once by sparing her. "Ah, do you understand what it means?" he asked, careful, his golden eyes fixed on hers. "I do," she said quietly, "but understanding does not mean I am afraid."
The words stirred something in him, a mixture of admiration and frustration. Her courage was reckless, yet it was not foolish.
And he could not bring himself to punish it. Hours passed, and the forest seemed endless. Strange sounds echoed through the trees, whispers of old magic, rustling that was not entirely animal. Kale's senses were alive with danger. Somewhere deep in the woods, creatures stirred that had long been dormant, and the Alpha's guards were surely searching for them, though Kale's instincts told him they would not follow too closely. Finally, they reached a river, black as ink under the moonlight. Kale knelt beside it, drinking silently, his eyes never leaving Alara. She approached, hesitant, then knelt a few steps away.
"You saved me," she said softly, almost to herself.
"And yet you could have obeyed. Why did you not?" Kale exhaled, a low rumble that was part human, part beast, because something in me refused to obey that order. I do not yet know why, but I do not regret it. Alara tilted her head. "Do you think it is duty or something else?"
He looked at her, searching for a truth he could not fully admit even to himself. "I do not know."
"Perhaps it is neither. Perhaps it is the recognition of strength. Bay. Or perhaps—" He paused, the word almost breaking in his throat. "Perhaps it is the pull of fate." Elara's eyes softened, but a flicker of doubt crossed her face. "Fate is a dangerous thing," she said. "It can bind us, or it can destroy us." Yes, and sometimes it whispers in riddles no one understands until it is too late. Kale's hand twitched toward the dagger at his side, then relaxed. The forest seemed to listen as he knelt beside her. The night pressed close, and yet, for the first time in centuries, he felt a strange peace in her presence, a balance to the chaos that ruled his life. Before either of them could speak again, a shadow moved along the riverbank. It was swift, silent, and unnatural. Kale rose instantly, instincts flaring. Alara stood as well, her hands tracing symbols in the air. Pale light shimmered along her fingers, and the shadow paused, as though uncertain.
You have power.
"I told you," she said softly, eyes never leaving the shadow. Power that could save, or power that could destroy.
This time Kale did not hesitate.
His beast rose in full, his form a mixture of human and predator, coiled strength and lethal grace.
Claws struck the darkness, and the shadow hissed, twisting in pain. Elara's magic followed, striking the creature in tandem with his attack. When the last echo of the shadow faded, Kale stood, his chest heaving. Elara looked at him, awe and caution in equal measure. "You are more than I imagined," she whispered. "And you are far more dangerous than the Alpha believes," he replied. "Your power is not something he will forgive lightly."
Elara's expression hardened. I know.
And I am not afraid. But I also know I cannot do this alone. Pal. Kale's eyes met hers. There was a long silence, the kind that stretches and twists in the space between two hearts aware of each other, but unwilling to name what they feel. The forest pressed in, and the night waited, holding its breath.
Finally, Kale spoke.
Then we move together. But understand this, if the Alpha discovers us, if he sees you, there will be consequences. And I will not let you face them alone. Elara stepped closer, her fingers brushing his arm briefly, a spark running up his spine that made the beast within him stir. "I do not expect you to be a hero," she said softly. "I only expect you to survive." Kael allowed a hint of a smile. "Then we are agreed. Bet. Survive. And perhaps something more."
The river ran quietly at their feet, reflecting moonlight that seemed almost alive. Shadows moved in the corners of the forest, and Kale knew danger was never far.
Yet for the first time, he allowed himself a thought that was not dominated by duty or command. A thought that was dangerous and frightening in its own right.
Perhaps he did not want to kill her.
They walked through the night, avoiding the trails that would lead back to the Alpha soldiers. Kale sensed eyes upon them, the weight of unseen watchers. The forest itself seemed to shift, responding to Alara's presence. Strange lights flickered among the trees, whispering warnings of power yet untamed. Hours passed. Dawn began to break, and the mist clung to the ground like a living thing. Kaul allowed himself a moment to study Elara. She moved with quiet confidence, every step deliberate, her dark eyes scanning the world with awareness beyond her years. He realized that she was more than a target, more than a key to a curse. She was a force, unyielding, beautiful, dangerous, and he was drawn to her in a way that defied logic, duty, and instinct. A sudden sound shattered the fragile calm, the snap of a branch behind them. Kael reacted instantly, spinning to face the noise, dagger drawn. Elara's hands glowed with pale light, ready for magic. But it was not a soldier or a beast that emerged. It was a stranger, tall, cloaked, with eyes that glimmered like molten silver. The figure spoke in a voice that echoed in the forest. "You should not be here," the stranger said. "Neither of you are safe. And yet, you carry the mark of fate. The Alpha's orders are not the only danger you face." Kale's claws flexed, the beast coiling within him. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice low and dangerous. The stranger's hood fell back, revealing a face pale and sharp, eyes older than the forest itself. "I am a keeper of the old magic," the figure said. "And the curse that binds you, girl, is awakening faster than any predicted. You will need more than courage to survive." Alara's eyes widened, her hands trembling slightly. "Then we must act quickly," she said, a new determination hardening her voice. Kale studied the stranger, then looked at her. "We move together," he said again, voice low and final. "No matter what comes, we face it side by side." The forest seemed to shiver at his words, the wind whispering secrets between the trees. Shadows shifted, and the first light of dawn began to touch the mist. Danger waited in every corner, yet Kale felt a strange certainty for the first time in centuries. Whatever came next, he would not face it alone. Desp, and neither would she. The sky had turned an unnatural shade of gray as Kale and Alara emerged from the forest. The wind carried a bitter chill, and every step across the rocky terrain seemed to echo with whispers of old magic. The stranger who had intercepted them in the forest had vanished, leaving only a warning. The curse that bound Alara was awakening faster than anyone had predicted. Kale's eyes scanned the horizon, golden and alert. His claws flexed beneath his skin, the beast within him restless. Every instinct screamed danger. Every heartbeat reminded him of the fragility of the one person he had sworn to protect. Elara walked beside him, quiet, but tense. Her hands brushed against the glowing mark on her wrist, as if trying to calm it, but it pulsed faintly, a living thing bound to her bloodline. "Do you feel it?" she asked softly, eyes fixed on the horizon. "The curse, it grows stronger." Every step I take, I feel its pull." Kale nodded, his voice low and rough. "I feel it too. And I will not let it claim you." "Not while I draw breath." Alara looked at him, a flicker of both fear and gratitude in her eyes. "Bashan, I am not afraid of dying," she said quietly, "but I am afraid of what I might become if I cannot control it." He understood more than she could know. Power without control was a dangerous thing. He had seen it destroy kingdoms, people, even those closest to him. And yet, watching her struggle with it, he felt a strange admiration, and something else stirring in his chest. Something he refused to name. The wind shifted, carrying a faint, ominous howl from the mountains. Kale stiffened. "We are being watched," he said. His claws emerged briefly, just enough to grip the stone underfoot. "And not by ordinary eyes." Alara nodded, her hands beginning to glow with pale light. Symbols, ancient and powerful, shimmered in the air between them. "Then we fight together," she said. "We have no choice." No sooner had the words left her lips than a wave of shadows erupted from the valley ahead. They moved like living smoke, twisting and writhing, forming monstrous shapes that hissed and snarled. Kale instinctively stepped in front of Alara, his beast form rising like a storm breaking free. Golden eyes flared, claws tearing through the shadows with supernatural speed. Elara's magic surged, striking the creatures in tandem with him. Pale light met dark shadows, the battlefield a whirlwind of power and movement. Together they fought as one, predator and mage, alpha and cursed girl. But the shadows were relentless, and the longer they battled, the stronger the curse in Alara's veins became. Pain twisted her face as the mark on her wrist flared violently, sending a shock through her body. Kale's eyes widened in alarm. He lunged, catching her as she stumbled, supporting her weight with both hands. Breath. The beast within him growled, but this time it was different. Protective, almost pleading. "You must focus," Kale growled. "Control it, or it will consume you." Alara gritted her teeth, channeling every ounce of strength into the magic she had barely learned to command. Light and shadow clashed violently, and for a moment everything stilled. The air hung heavy with power, the ground trembling beneath their feet. And then a voice cut through the storm, cold, sharp, unmistakable. "Kale!" The Alpha's voice. Kale's heart skipped. His blood ran hot and cold at once. He had defied the Alpha's order once, spared her life. And now here he stood, caught in a storm of his own making. Breath. He could feel the beast within him coiling, ready to strike, to protect, to obey, yet torn between the command and the bond forming between him and Alara. Bye. From the shadows, soldiers emerged. Elite warriors of the Alpha, each trained to kill, each sworn to obey without hesitation. Their eyes glimmered with cold calculation, and their weapons gleamed in the pale light. Alara looked up at Kale, fear and determination warring in her gaze. "We cannot fight them all," she whispered. "We will fall if we try." Kyle's jaw tightened. "We will fight," he said, "or die trying. And if we die, it will be together." Her eyes softened, and for a heartbeat, the storm around them faded. There was only the connection between them, fragile, dangerous, undeniable.
But there was no time to linger in thought. The soldiers attacked.
Kale's claws moved like lightning, his beast form blurring in motion. He tore through their ranks, yet there were too many. One of them struck at him with a blade enchanted to harm beasts, forcing him to roar and fall back. Elara's magic flared, but the effort was draining her, and the mark on her wrist burned like fire. She stumbled again, and Kale caught her, shielding her from the next wave of soldiers. His golden eyes met hers, and at that moment, words were unnecessary. The bond between them had grown, forged in battle and danger, trust and unspoken longing. But then, a figure stepped forward. A traitor among the Alpha's ranks. One Kale had trusted. The man's eyes were cold, and his blade gleamed with dark magic. Without warning, he struck at Alara. Kyle reacted instantly, throwing himself between them. The blade grazed his shoulder, burning like fire, and he growled, fury and pain intertwining. Alara's magic surged, and the man was thrown back, but not before he whispered one word: "Obey." The word was a poison to his mind, a command that clawed at his instincts. His beast roared, struggling for dominance, threatening to consume him entirely. Alara's hand rested on his chest, her eyes steady, grounding him. "Kale," she says softly. "Fight it." Base. Fight for us. And he did. The Alpha's control, the soldier's command, the instinct to obey, all of it battled with the bond that had formed between him and Alara. The forest seemed to hold its breath as Kale's golden eyes blazed, claws extended, and he let the beast follow his heart, not the Alpha's order.
The traitor fell, and silence descended.
Kale's chest heaved, the beast within him settling reluctantly. Alara collapsed into his arms, exhausted, the mark on her wrist dimming but still pulsing faintly. Kale held her close, feeling the warmth of her against him, the rhythm of her heartbeat matching his own. He had protected her, yes, but he had also broken his chains. He had chosen. And yet, danger was far from over. The curse still pulsed in Alara's veins, stronger than ever. The Alpha would not forgive defiance, and other forces, older and darker than either of them, were awakening. Alara lifted her head slightly, her gaze meeting his. "Kale, I don't know if I can control it," she whispered, fear and uncertainty in her voice. "You can," Kyle said firmly, though his own heart wavered. "I will not let it destroy you. Not while I am here. Not while we are together. Her hand brushed his face, tentative but electric. For a fleeting moment, the storm of battle, magic, and danger faded. All that remained was the fragile connection between them. A bond forged in blood, trust, and the unspoken pull of fate. But the world outside would not wait for them. The Alpha's wrath was growing, the soldiers regrouping, and the curse in Alara's blood was awakening faster than anyone could have predicted. Kale rose, supporting her as they moved deeper into the forest, away from the battlefield, away from immediate danger. Every step was weighted with consequence. Every glance between them was charged, a silent acknowledgement of what they felt but could not yet name. The wind shifted again, and Kale's beast growled softly, uneasy. He sensed a presence, older, darker, and more powerful than the soldiers or the traitor. Something ancient stirred in the shadows, drawn to the curse in Alara's blood. Alara shivered, sensing it too. Kale, something is coming, she whispered. He nodded, golden eyes sharp, claws flexing. Then we prepare, he said. Whatever comes, we face it together, side by side, no matter what. The sky above them darkened further, clouds twisting unnaturally. The forest seemed to tighten around them, the air thick with anticipation. Danger, power, and fate converged. And in the center of it all, Kale and Alara walked together. Two souls bound by defiance, destiny, and the beginning of something neither fully understood. The storm had arrived. Clouds swirled across the sky in unnatural patterns, casting the forest in a silver-gray light. The air smelled of ozone and ancient power, and every tree seemed to quiver as though sensing the weight of what was coming. Kale and Alara stood at the edge of a clearing where the ground had been scorched black, the remnants of battles fought long before their time. Kale's golden eyes glimmered with resolve. The Alpha's command still echoed in the distance, a cold reminder of the chain he had broken. But he did not hesitate. He would protect Alara, and he would see the curse end, whatever it cost. Alara's hand rested on the mark on her wrist, now glowing brighter than ever. The curse was fully awake, pulsing through her veins, threatening to overwhelm her. But she did not falter. Her magic had grown stronger through the trials of flight, battle, and survival. She knew what had to be done. We face this together, Kale said, his voice low and steady. Whatever comes, we fight side by side. Breath. I trust you, she whispered, and I know you will not let me fall. From the shadows, movement stirred. A massive figure emerged, taller than any human, cloaked in darkness and radiating power. The creature's eyes were molten gold, and its presence pressed against their minds like a storm. The curse had a master, something ancient and hungry, bound to Alara's bloodline. Kale stepped in front of her instinctively, his beast form rising in a controlled surge of power. He had learned over countless battles to balance the feral strength within him with precision. He would protect her, not just from soldiers or traitors, but from the very forces of magic itself.
You should not have come. The creature's voice rumbled like distant thunder. Child of the cursed bloodline.
And the beast who defies the Alpha.
Alara's eyes flared, glowing with pale light.
I have no choice, she said, her voice trembling but firm. I will not let you destroy me or anyone else. Kale's claws flexed, the beast within him coiling tightly. Then we end this, he said, voice low, eyes locked on the creature. together. The first strike came like lightning. Pang. Shadows erupted from the creature, twisting and lashing like serpents. Kael moved faster than thought, blocking and tearing them apart with his claws. Elara's magic surged, weaving through the chaos, binding some shadows and dispersing others with bursts of light. For a moment, all was chaos. The ground shook beneath their feet. The trees bent as though bowing to the power at play. Kael and Elara moved as one. Instinct and magic, beast and mage, inspiration. Every glance, every motion was a silent conversation. Every strike strengthened the bond that had grown from trust, fear, and unspoken longing. But the creature was relentless. It struck Elara with a wave of darkness, forcing her to stumble. Bick. Kael caught her instantly, his beast form rising fully, eyes blazing gold. The Alpha's command tried to clod his mind, whispering obedience, but he ignored it. Nothing mattered except protecting her. You cannot fight it alone, Kael roared, lifting her to face the creature together. Elara's magic flared, stronger than ever. The mark on her wrist pulsed violently, a beacon of power that called to the ancient force before them. Kael realized then that the curse could not be destroyed by force alone. It required control, unity, and sacrifice. Trust me, he said, his voice breaking slightly under the weight of the moment. Trust yourself. And trust me.
Elara nodded.
With a deep breath, she channeled the magic through Kael's protective form, linking their power. Light and shadow twisted around them, spiraling like a living storm. Kael felt the beast within him struggle, but he let it flow with her energy, rather than against it. The union of their strength formed a shield, a conduit, and a sword. The ancient creature shrieked, lashing out, but the combined force of Kael and Elara struck true. The curse within her bloodline flared, then burned away the darkness that had haunted it for centuries. The creature howled, its form dissolving into nothingness, leaving only the echo of its power behind. For a moment, all was still. The storm above began to fade, and sunlight, soft and golden, broke through the clouds. The forest seemed to breathe, the tension of centuries lifting. Kael's golden eyes softened as he looked at Elara, whose hands trembled slightly but whose smile was victorious.
You did it, he said quietly, lowering his claws.
You controlled it. You ended it. Elara's eyes shimmered with relief and exhaustion. We did it, she corrected softly, looking up at him. Together. Kael felt a surge of something more than triumph, something he had resisted, feared, but could no longer deny. He reached for her hand, holding it firmly. I will not let anything harm you again, he said. Not the Alpha. Not curses. Not even myself. Elara's gaze softened, and for the first time she let herself fully rest against him. I believe you, she whispered. The tension of fear, battle, and uncertainty melted away, leaving only the bond forged through struggle, trust, and shared danger. Hours later, they emerged from the forest onto a hill overlooking the kingdom. The land was scarred by battle, but the light of dawn promised renewal. Kael stood tall, golden eyes scanning the horizon, the beast within him quieted, but still alert. Elara rested her head against his shoulder, the mark on her wrist now faint, almost peaceful. The Alpha, she murmured.
He will not forgive you. Kael's jaw tightened, a shadow of anger passing through his expression. Then he will learn, he said.
I will not bow to fear. I will not obey orders that betray what is right, and I will protect what matters most. Elara looked up at him, her eyes searching his.
You could have obeyed. You could have let me die. And yet, her voice faltered, emotion heavy in her tone.
You chose me. Kale's lips pressed into a hard line, then softened. Because some bonds are stronger than duty, he said quietly. Some instincts demand defiance. For a long moment, they simply stood there watching the kingdom stretch below them, the sun breaking through the lingering storm. The weight of the curse was gone, the ancient threat destroyed, and yet the memory of all that had been endured remained, a testament to their strength, courage, and trust. Elara's hand found his again, entwining fingers. "Do you think there is a future for us?" she asked softly. Kale's golden eyes met hers, the beast within him resting quietly. "There is," he said firmly. "But it will not be easy. Nothing worth protecting ever is. We will face storms, betrayals, and challenges, but together we can survive anything." She smiled, faint and tired, but filled with hope.
"Together," she echoed, and as they descended the hill toward the kingdom, Kale felt something he had not allowed himself in centuries.
A sense of peace, and the stirring of something deeper, something neither fear nor command could suppress. The beginning of love, forged in battle, tempered in trust, and strengthened by survival. The Alpha's command would still echo through the halls of the castle. The kingdom would watch them, wary and suspicious. But for Kale and Elara, the bonds of trust and defiance had already reshaped their destiny. They had faced curses, betrayal, and the darkness of their own hearts. And now they faced the dawn together.